Hello viewers, myself R.P. Srivastava with a new topic in economics under the heading Macro Distribution Theory of Income. Today I am going to discuss Karl Marxian theory of income distribution. Besides economics, Marx was a philosopher also, and that's why all his discussion is based upon his own philosophy, very well known in the field of economics, philosophy of scientific socialism. He was also known as the father of scientific socialism. Here, the Marxian model of factor income distribution is an integral part of Marx's analysis of the anatomy and physiology of human society. Marxian writing was very much affected by Hegelian dialectics of German philosophy, English economics, mainly Ricardian economics, and French socialism. So, Marx, given his theory, having the mixture of all these theories, and that's why the macro distribution theory of economics is not only a economic theory of income distribution but explanation of the economic activities and its related aspects in the society as a whole. His system was based on German philosophy, particularly Hegelian dialectics, English economics, mainly Ricardian, and French socialism. He integrated all these ideas into one, gave his own version of an interpretation of history, economic analysis of the capitalist system, and a view of the state and body, a prophecy. The credit goes to Ricardo to have the study of macro distribution of income that is based upon his surplus principle, and we can say that Marxian philosophy or Marxian study of macro distribution of income is very much an adaptation of Ricardian surplus principle, whereas utility is different in every commodity. The common thing is the quantity of labor embodied in every commodity. Therefore, it is the labor alone that is ultimate source of all value. And equipment and raw materials do not create value. They merely transfer their own value to the commodity. But labor creates more value than its own value. All these are the ideas given by Ricardo. And lastly, the value of labor force is determined by the cost of reproduction of labor, that is, by the value of goods and services that are required to maintain the laborers at the minimum subsistence level. So, idea of surplus principle and labor gets equal to his subsistence need, and these are the points on the basis of which Karl Marx forwarded his theory of macro distribution theory of income. So we can say that Marxian theory of income distribution is very much an adaptation of Ricardian surplus principle. As in my previous slide, I have said that theory of income distribution given by Marx is an adaptation of Ricardian surplus principle. So, where lies the difference between Ricardo and Marx, especially when we talk about macro theory of income distribution? Calder pointed out the difference as follows. First, Marx having no belief in law of diminishing return. Therefore, he makes no distinction between rent and profit. Rent is included in profit. Like Ricardo, Marx, however, treats interest as a part of profit. Second, Marx assumes the supply price of about to be fixed in terms of commodities in general, while Ricardo considers the wage rate to be fixed in terms of corn. Third, for Ricardo, profits are the difference between rent and wages, but Marx regards profit as the surplus product of labor over the supply price, wage, or cost of labor. Again, Ricardo, according to Ricardo, wages are paid to equal to the subsistence level out of the wage fund. Marx, the reserve army of labor, prevents the wage rate from rising above the subsistence level. So, where Ricardo talks about subsistence level that is paid to laborers, while why the level of subsistence or the wage just equal to their subsistence need is possible due to a reserve army of labor is prevailing in the society. And lastly, according to Marx, capital does not create surplus value. The constant capital, that is C, is evidently the crystallized product of labor, and its value, like that of any other product, is determined solely by the number of hours of labor it has taken to produce. This value should be rediscoverable in the finished product, but there is nothing more, no surplus. It is depreciation of classical economists as said by Marx. Marxian composition of total value of output. The total value of output is composed of three elements. First, variable capital, that is denoted by capital V. The total wages in terms of minimum subsistence wages paid to the workers. Second constituent, that is constant capital, denoted by capital C, is equal to value of capitals and raw materials. And third, surplus value, denoted by capital S, created by the laborers over and above the value of their labor power, and which is expropriated by the capitalist as profits. So, Marxian composition of total value consists of V, C and S. So, V plus C plus S is the total value of output. According to Marx, it is the labor alone that is the ultimate source of all value. Equipment and raw materials do not create value, they merely transfer their own value to the commodity. The value of labor power is determined by the cost of reproduction of labor, that is, by the value of goods and services that are required to maintain the laborers at the minimum subsistence level. So, Marx says, we put the constant part of the value of the product, that is 0, as it plays no part in the creation of value. Thus, the net output equals V plus S, that is wage share plus profits. The ratio of S by V has been called by Marx the rate of exploitation, and the rate of profit as such would be S divided by V plus C, and Marx has called the ratio C divided by C plus V as organic composition of capital. So, the wage, however, is fixed around the subsistence level. In an example given by Marx himself, the value of a commodity if suppose equals to 590 pound, which is composed of 410 pound as C, 90 pound as V, and therefore 90 pound as surplus S, the rate of exploitation is 90 divided by 90, that is 1, that is cent per cent, and the organic composition of capital is 410 divided by 410 plus 90, that is equal to 410 by 500. So the basic object of the capitalist is to increase surplus or profit, that is to increase the rate of exploitation, that is S divided by V. Now we discuss capitalist and the rate of exploitation and what interrelation lies in between these two. The capitalists who own the material means of production compete with each other to increase the rate of exploitation, that is S divided by V, and this can be done in many ways. Firstly, this can be done by lengthening the working day. Here the factory legislation came in the way. So the second method for this is increase the intensity of labor, that is forcing the workers to greater amount of work while keeping the working day constant. But this method has its own limitations. Thirdly, to diminish the number of hours necessary to produce the workers' sustenance. It may be possible through reduction in the cost of living, particularly price of corn, hence the repeal of corn laws, or by employing women and children who require less for their upkeep than adults. The British legislation did the first but not the second. And lastly, a major way in which the capitalist can increase the surplus value is by raising the physical productivity of workers through technical progress. So, these are the methods through which capitalists exploit the laborers. Here I will talk the law of increasing misery of the working classes and how Marxian theory explains the relation between the capital and labor. Technical progress only if there is capital accumulation. According to Marx, capital accumulation or investment activity is not motivated by the lure of profit, but it is the necessity forced on them by the competitive struggle among the capitalists. As this will increase the rate of exploitation and consequently the share of profit in the national income, the relative share of wages will fall, and this is the law of increasing misery of the working class as pronounced by Karl Marx. But even though the relative share of profits increases with capital accumulation, the ratio of organic composition of capital would increase and the rate of profit will fall, and its explanation lies as follows. A rate of profit denoted by P is equal to surplus value divided by constant capital plus variable capital is equal to surplus value divided by variable capital multiplied by the ratio between variable capital divided by constant capital plus variable capital, and that is equal to surplus value divided by variable capital multiplied by 1 minus constant capital divided by constant capital plus variable capital. As more capital intensive production techniques are adopted due to capital accumulation, the rate of profit will fall. Though the rate of profit may fall, though the rate of profit may fall, the relative share in total income will increase. However, it is difficult to evaluate without this theory, without considering its philosophy and theory of class struggle, as we know that Marxian analysis is based upon his idea of dialectic philosophy and economic relation that leads to caste struggle. But for convenience to have the Marxian theory of economic distribution, we confine here to his economics only. Firstly, based only upon labor theory of value, which is not acceptable to the modern economist. As we know, he gives no importance to entrepreneurial function and merges rent and interest into profits, thus creating only two antagonistic classes in the society, capitalists and the workers. Secondly, modern economists do not agree with his view on the organic composition of capital and the tendency of the rate of profit to fall. As Calder says, for even if output per man assumed to increase more slowly than the surplus value per man will necessarily increase faster than output per man and may thus secure a rising rate of profit even if there is diminishing productivity to successive addition to fixed capital per unit of labor. So, as we find that in the West, with neither the share of labor in the national income has declined, it might have remained constant, nor the misery and impoverishment of the proletariat have increased. The rate of profit has not declined. Nevertheless, exploitation of labor by capitalists has not only been considered a fact but has actually been measured by many economists, and its removal has been sought through collective bargaining or through state legislation. So, we can say that Marxian theory of income distribution have its own significance, but there lies its shortcoming also, that will clearly hinted by modern economists, especially Calder.